Bees in the flowers, birds in the trees, nature's beauty in things like these. Rivers and mountains, valleys so wide, stars in the heavens, deep blue they are. Everyday artist, the old and the new, color each day a bright golden hue. Now that we know you, our story begins. Come and be with us, artists and friends. Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, Sal, thanks a lot for painting that mural on the wall for me.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Rip. You know that. I had such a good time.
I appreciate it. It is really pretty, you know.
Well, I appreciate that. That makes me feel much better about staying in your house for such a long time.
Oh, that's mighty fine. I appreciate the help.
Oh, Rip, you're back. Excuse me.
Ah, Miss Polly, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm so glad I caught you before you left,
Well,
Salvador.
you know, many roads ahead, many murals to paint yet. Can't stay here all the time, you know. This is Rip's house, yeah.
Oh, but the mural is perfectly beautiful. Rip is so lucky to have.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I got one more thing for you, Miss Polly.
Oh,
It's
really?
right here.
Oh.
Take a look.
Oh,
Those
wonderful.
are actual pictures painted on bark. They are from Mexico.
Oh, thank
Bark, yes,
you.
Rip.
They are just beautiful.
Well,
I
it's my
love-
pleasure to give them to you, Miss Polly.
Well, will you please come back?
Oh, of course, I intend to.
All right.
But for now, I must go. Goodbye.
Bye-bye,
Rip.
Sal. Bye-bye, Sal.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, Rip, these are so pretty, and you know the flowers in these reminds me. Someone left a perfectly beautiful bouquet of flowers over there.
Oh, I'm glad you noticed that, Miss Polly. You know, I picked those on the way home.
Oh, I just love them, and that's exactly what I needed today, Rip.
Oh.
I hope you'll do the project.
Well, Miss Polly, I'd like to learn how to paint flowers, because I don't know how.
Well, I tell you what, you watch. I'm going to put this right here, and we'll look right at these flowers right here. And it's very easy. So let's just see what we need for the project today. First of all, you can paint flowers with watercolor or tempera. Now, I'm using concentrate tempera. And I need to get each block of tempera wet. And I have a sponge here to get them wet. I'm trying to keep from spreading the color. Let's use this end. Want to get this red one wet. Here's a nice orange one. Kind of a dark blue and a kind of a greenish blue. Now, you're probably wondering what I'm working with. This is just a sponge. You see? You take these very inexpensive sponges and cut them all up in little pieces like that. And everyone in the classroom can have a sponge to paint with. I'll show you how we'll work with it. Let's talk about brushes a little bit. Here's a brush that's very inexpensive called a poly brush, and it's kind of a sponge on it. You might use that. And I looked for other brushes that were inexpensive, and this one is a nylon bristle brush used for painting very small things, and that's about right. Perhaps you have brushes like this. This is one that's been used in the classroom a long time. And I know so many of you have a little brush like this one. There are places that you can use a little brush, but I do hope you have at least one big brush to work this project. Now we're going to add some spring flowers to a landscape. Look at this lovely picture I have in this magazine. You see there's sky and mountains, and then all in the foreground, lovely, lovely flowers. So we'll do something like that. But first, let's look at our flowers that Rip was so nice to bring us. Oh, there's daisies and daffodils and blue iris in it. So that will give us an idea of how to paint, because it's more fun to paint flowers if you're looking at some. But don't worry if they don't look just exactly like it. I want you to come up with ways of painting flowers, perhaps that you've never done before. You'll want to use drawing paper, or it's kind of fun to use construction paper. And this construction paper is green, and that some of the color is already there. Now I want to show you how we'll work with the sponge. First of all, I'll get it wet. And I think it would be kind of fun to have an orange sky you don't always have to have a blue sky. So let's see if I can make an orange sky. Start at the top and make your color pretty dark at the top of the page. And as you put in the sky, make it look kind of like clouds. Kind of swirl it, leave some light places. Got a little bit more paint here. And as you bring the sky down, kind of vague it out. Just leaving the page about 1/3 down. Then with your sponge, let's put some foreground in. This is a kind of a greenish color, more blue than the paper here. Now this tempera I have to make sure I have plenty of moisture in the block. And of course you can use your tempera, whatever tempera you have in your classroom. Now this looks a little bit like ground, but when I do this is a good way to draw grass. And this will help us when we put the flowers in. And then of course we want to put flowers all in this area. And I want you to watch how I paint the flower, but I think you'll get some ideas about how to paint flowers. I saw a daisy over there that was the loveliest rose pink. I think it's a margarita. And this brush is a little bit large for the center of that daisy, but let me show you what you can do with a brush like this. You can turn it just like that and make a circle. Now let's get some more paint and try that again. Now if it runs down, and of course it probably will run down because I have my table here on an angle so you can see. If it does run down, I'll just use it for stems to my daisy. Now watch what I can do. I can make petals like this. And it really looks kind of like a sunflower when I do that. But what about this brush? How about making petals with this brush? And you can see what happens if you have a different kind of brush. Coming in, each stroke is like a petal. Wash out my brush in between, and let's have a stem. And since it didn't run, make one. Let's put one here. And I think it would be kind of fun to have a yellow one over here, right about here. And if you will notice closely, I'm putting every flower at a little bit of a different place on the paper. And now I think I should have that lovely blue iris. That's a Dutch iris. So look at that, and I think the square brush will be just right for that. I'll start with the tops like this, and then I want this to come here and come here. That was kind of fun. Let's see if I can do that again. When you're painting flowers, if you have, your brush just shows some movement, kind of makes the flower seem to be moving. And there's just a little dash of yellow in that iris. So while it's wet, I want to add some yellow, and I don't care if it kind of runs a little bit. That makes it look good. Now I need stems. And really, it would be much more interesting if I had some flowers that, were kind of tucked behind. And I need this color again. So let's add this. And it ran down and made a stem. And I might add others here. You want to fill up your picture comfortably. Fill it up. But you don't want to go too far. Sometimes you just have so much fun making flowers, you put too many. So let's look at what the school artists have done with their flowers. I think they're pretty exciting. Let's look at this top one. Here's a great big flower and a sun, and if you look down in the bottom of it, there's a rabbit with a cotton tail. And on Mary's, she used her sponge to make this lovely little pink flower in the center. She used the sponge. Then Steve has shown us several different ways to make his flowers. Here's Michelle's, and this is Easter Lily. She does a very good job of painting that. And Ellis shows us design in her flowers. And I want you to be sure and look at Matthew's. Matthew is left-handed, but it didn't stop him one bit making those nice pink flowers. I think they turned out real well. I wonder if Rip did a good job making flowers. How did you do, Rip?
Well, Miss Polly, I didn't do too good. I'm going to have some practice before I can paint like this.
Oh, Rip! Oh, that's beautiful. You know, that's Sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Uh-huh. Did you know you had collected a masterpiece?
Well, they told me a little bit about him, but he's kind of funny in a lot of ways, I think, Miss Polly, you know.
Well, now, let me tell you a little bit about Vincent van Gogh. Sometimes he had trouble with relationships with people, but he showed his love in his art, and look at the lovely yellow color in the background, and these sunflowers show so much movement. Actually, he shows rhythm in it, and these are beautiful, beautiful, bright colors, and actually, he's a very fine painter. Of course, you know he's no longer living.
Well, you know, the funny thing about him, Miss Polly, is they told me a strange story about him. You know, when I got this, I had to give two sacks of pellets and a block of salt for it, you know.
Oh, yes, you have a print here. We might point that out, that it is a print. You know, the original would be very thick oil painting. But what was the story?
Well, see, the thing was, they told me he got so frustrated and everything that he cut off his own ear.
Oh, really?
Well, Miss Polly, you know, I can try to paint, but I can't afford to lose one of my ears, see. They're too big. You know, look at that now. I got to have them so I can listen for all them coyotes that's coming after me. That's what I depend on, so I can run, you see?
Well,
good night. I couldn't afford to cut off one of my ears.
oh, of course not, Rip. And I would...
Leaves in the flowers, birds in the trees, nature's beauty, and things like these. Rivers and mountains, valleys so wide, stars in the heavens, deep blue they are. Everyday artists, the old and the new, color each day a bright golden hue. Now that we know you, our story begins. Come and be with us, artists and friends. Da 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 dum.